This is my live rig for Marillion, and that's my live rig for the Rothery band cello shows. And the way I have this configured at the moment is I can use both at the same time, the 2 channels, 2 cabinets. So this is the Marillion rig. Which is this side here, trio valve preamp, occasionally the Lexicon in combination with that, Gig Rig G2 controlling which effects are then used, almost always a delay and reverb, sometimes things like the Hughes and Kettner Rotosphere. It's one of my favourite things I've used a lot over the years. It's kind of the Leslie sound. The sound I was on, which is just with a tremolo pedal. Funky things like this, which is using the pitchfork, Electro-Harmonic pitchfork, which is a really clean octave box. Also manually punching in effects here, like I've got this Mojo vibe on, which is, so without that it's I'll punch that in. And I've done this album, I've used that quite a lot actually, sometimes in combination with that tremolo sound. Sometimes with this Free the Tone overdrive pedal, Fire Mist. Gets quite loud. And the slide rig compressor pedal as well, sometimes with a certain part. I always used to hate compressors, but I've kind of grown to love them. But sometimes for a very simple part, it thickens and controls the dynamics quite nicely. It's also boosting the gain a little bit. But I tend to use the volume pedal an awful lot, which not many guitarists do, because I not only use it to swell notes in for things like, but also to just clean the guitar up. So if it's fully down, you know, you have a certain level of overdrive from the amplifier, from the preamp, you bring it back up and cuts the volume down, which cleans it up quite a lot. And also it changes the sound slightly. It tames some of the high end. So anyway, that's how I tend to use that. Yeah, other stuff in here. The good old Adrenaline there. That preset. Nothing sounds like the Adrenaline. It's a great box. So that's kind of most of that. Then you've got the JC side, which isn't kind of mic'd up at the moment. But so that's kind of most of the sort of stuff that I'm using on this new album. But also do use the new rig as well. So. Really nice sound where you use it both in combination, so I have a volume pedal from each one so I can blend the two. Again, going back to that sound, you have like a chorus through the pitcher amplifier, which is like a Dumble clone, With the free of the tone, Future Factory delay and reverb pedal, which is the other thing that I've used quite a lot on my solo album. Actually, is this, which is the Specular Tempest reverb pedal, which has some amazing long ambient kind of reverbs. So again, you have a great thing if you use the two in combination. Yeah, it's a reverb. So it's normally anyway, it's just like like the sound of a hall or a church. You have these modern reverbs that have these, they use chorus and pitch shifting and feeding the signal into each other to generate multiple kind of tones almost from, like an octave higher. So it becomes quite synth-like, I suppose. So there we have it.
That's beautiful sound, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It's quite magical.
Yeah.
A lot of this is old technology. It's like based on souped up Fender and Marshall, which itself sometimes is a souped up Fender circuit that's been copied and developed and evolved. And they've stopped making these about 15 years ago. So these are kind of like getting like gold dust. And I own quite a few of them around the world because it does a thing for me. The 3 channels cover sort of 85% of what I want to hear with the guitar, and then the pitcher covers the other 15%. And then using combination again gives you another voice. But yeah, there's not much sort of new, I suppose. But I think that the whole ambient reverbs, I can put one on this rig as well, so you can hear. And use it in combination with the other ambient reverb. Have a lot of stuff happening. I spend half my life researching it, buying equipment, and then getting rid of it because it's not quite right. So it's a process of evolution. I mean, the stuff on my solo rig kind of goes back to the first, before I had the gig rig, the G2 controlling it. I had pretty much these pedals on a simple pedal board when I did the first gig in Plovdiv for my beginning of my solo career, really, with my solo band. So I found things that worked really well with this amplifier because it's got, well, everything has a different character. The guitars have different characters, make you play in different ways, different things sound good, and the clean sound on the trio, which uses something like Ocean Cloud, is nice, but the clean sound on the pitcher is a different level. The way compresses the sound is different. So, and then using combination with something like the Jester overdrive pedal, which is a valve overdrive. You know, you get all these different. I like to do this thing where I find different sounds that work well together. The same way with all the JC120 stuff with the Rockman modules and all that stuff. That's a different thing. It's like a different flavour almost. So I can call upon that stuff. I can call upon my main rig. I can manually punch in these additional effects like the Mojo Vibe or the distortion or the compressor on that side. At the same time, I've got this independent rig there, so I can call up different combinations of sounds and merge them or blend them, however you want to say it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But you know, different sorts of distortion pedals, they all do different things, and it's only by trying them with the amplifiers that you use and with the guitars that you use will you find the chemistry between the different things that make it sound magical or special. And then it's a case of learning sometimes how to play that sound, like the sound on the JC120 that I've used a lot in the early Marillion stuff, things like the Easter solo or This Strange Engine. That's a Boss DS1 overdrive pedal that's flat out with all the tone turned off that I use with my Squire Strat. So it's finding the way that these things talk to each other and building on that relationship that they have with each other to find exploring that, finding different things that work in the context of that instrument and that amplifier and those pedals. So that is a constant evolution. This is a lot of gear, but I've got this kind of again at my studio at home. It's just slightly different. So yeah, I've kind of made a major investment, I suppose, in equipment. Very understanding wife. That's why we don't have a new kitchen yet. But you know, it's tools of my trade, and it's what inspires me. As you can hear with those kind of combination sounds, when you can have that, it's something that helps create the magic for me. This is my latest acquisition, it only arrived last week. It's the Quad Cortex, which is, I've got a couple of the Kempers which I've used for gigging, but they're quite heavy and big, and this is a similar kind of technology in a lot smaller, lighter box. So I'm going to try and see if that can replace, not for Marillion so much, but for solo shows or other things that I do where I need to travel, especially in the post-Brexit Europe where everything is a problem, moving equipment from one country to, you know, from the UK into the EU, and just, you know, physically carrying something that could work well. We'll see. This still probably my original blade that I've been playing pretty much since the Arachnophobia album onwards. It's I've got various other blades, some of which kind of get 90% of the way with this one, but this is just for me as close to perfection as any instrument I've played. I can't get a bad sound out of it, no matter what pickup combination I use or whether or not I use a boost or not. It's just an instrument I feel completely comfortable with. But there's other instruments I've got as well. My Blade Telecaster, my Jack Dent guitars, some of which are at home. An Italia 12-string that I got recently, which I've used in a couple of things. It's yeah, every instrument will make you play slightly differently, and like I say, it's a combination of certain guitars and certain amplifiers, like a Les Paul and a Marshall. Is that classic rock sound of the sort of 70s and 80s, I suppose. And these amplifiers are very good actually. It's a UK company called Victory Amplification, and these are pretty much based on like a Marshall kind of approach, especially the Sheriff 22. So that's something that I will use now and again. No, I mean, there's certain things sonically, but not really. I suppose a little bit from Dave Gilmour, a bit from Andy Latimer, a bit from Steve Hackett. But then it's finding your own voice, really. and your own approach to sound. Yeah, what excites you? What makes you want to play the guitar? What makes you want to write? Because you can have a very simple part, but with the right sound, it creates this, you know, something quite magical. So I'm all for that. I think sometimes music can get too complex because musicians, when they learn all these incredible chops, they want to show people these incredible chops. But very little amazing music is made with incredible chops. People want to hear melodies. They want to hear emotion. The beauty of the guitar is it's such an emotional instrument, and there's more satisfaction from making someone, you know, cry, if you like, or feel that level of emotional intensity than there is, you know, impressing them with your 5,000 notes per second, you know, sweet picking arpeggios. And I suppose part of what I do goes back to the raw emotion of the blues, and through that, you know, how Dave Gilmour incorporated those bluesy influences in the Floyd stuff, but then how people like Steve Hackett and Andy Latimer had a slightly different approach. But yeah, melody, atmosphere, and good taste is what I'm about. Yeah, my whole style, the way my style evolved, it's all about bending and vibrato, which is what gives me my unique thing. But it just meant that my hand position evolved to give me that maximum control and strength. Makes that it's not, you know, you see something like my good friend Dave Foster playing, you know, and he's got this incredible reach, and he's got the dropped hand position most of the time, and then it enables him to do stuff that's just not in my vocabulary. But what I can do, I can play a note, and also I've got really, really good pitch. So even if the guitar's starting to go slightly flat, I can overbend the notes and then add vibrato to it to make it, you know, in pitch, which not many people do. Not enough. I try and play regularly, but sometimes life can get in the way. And if you're trying to write, you focus more on writing than practicing, I suppose. And if you're producing yourself, then that's another rabbit hole. You know, really getting to grips with programs like Logic and Pro Tools and Ableton Live. You can lose a big chunk of your life, but it's worthwhile because it gives you the tools to help you create and find your vision. But it becomes like playing the guitar is only one aspect of what you're doing. Well, I can look across at Pete and see if he's into it, and which is really, really good. And you know, Ian, you can tell, and H, Mark, sometimes you can tell. Sometimes he's looking for his sounds, you know, but when we're all tuned into the same frequency and we're all listening to each other, because it's not just about what you play, it's about how you listen to the other four musicians, then something happens and you can't help but smile, because it's so special, but at the same time it's almost effortless. It's just like what we do. This is what happens when you put these five people in the right frame of mind together at the right time. It's this incredible, almost organic process of creation of things of beauty.
Thanks very much for watching Marillion's official YouTube channel.
Hello YouTubers, remember to like this channel,
subscribe to the channel,
and do hit the notification bell
So you're the first to know when we upload new material.